Hello everyone, it is Sunday night and we are coming to you live from inside of Bat City Comic Professionals in Bradenton, Florida to help you wind down your weekend. As always, I'm your host Shannon, aka Small Press Shann, here to tell you about the latest and greatest in this week's indie new releases. There's a lot of books. We're starting to see those books starting to flow again after the holiday shipping delays and things of that nature, and just the slowdown for the holidays. So we're going to have a bunch of books to talk about. But before we do that, of course, if we're going to wind down our weekend, we've got to have some wine for the weekend. So we are drinking Chateau La Leville, which is a Côtes de Bordeaux, which is interesting. Usually we have Côtes de Rhône. This is essentially the same kind of wine, but from the Bordeaux region. It says that it's a mixture of Cab Sauv and Merlot, so it's probably going to have a little bit of a sweetness to it, but we're going to see. I like how purpley it is. It's a very purpley wine. I think that smells like flowers. It smells pretty. That's why I say flowers. Yeah. Let's see what it tastes like. Oh, that's nice. It's a nice blend. Yeah.
Spicy, a little bit.
A little spicy, a little oaky.
Flowers.
I was going to say a little bit of the flowers. Yeah, that's a nice wine. I'm curious to see, again, how it opens up over time, but one of the things it says is that it's very silky, which is definitely true. It has a lot of silkiness to the texture of it. And, yeah, notes of black currant and blueberry and silky tannins, refined structure, all things that I love, so that's not surprising that I think it tastes good. And of course, product of the Bordeaux region of France. So we're going to be drinking this all night. If you're hanging out with us, let us know that you're here in the comments. If you're watching later, also let us know you're in the comments. We love to see what people loved reading this week. So tell us what books you're enjoying right now. This week at Bat City, speaking of things that happened this week, we had a lot of fun. We started it off with the Batastic Awards, which is our annual award show for indie and small press comics. We were joined by the amazing, wonderful cartoonist Anthony Pizzo, who reads thousands of single issues of comics and graphic novels a year, and so we love having Anthony come on and kind of give us a second voice of what the best of the best were that year. We do have that episode. You can watch it. But we'll also be posting all of the winners, in stagnant nomination and winner announcements this week, so you can see who won those Batastic Awards. Also this past week we had Creator Meetup, which was awesome. There were so many people that we ran out of chairs and we started having cushions on the floor. But it was really cool. We spent the first half of Creator Meetup doing the Kids Comic Creation Workshop, but as adults, which was awesome to see everybody kind of have to express their creativity in a way that they weren't used to necessarily doing it. And then in the second half, we got to network and talk about projects people were working on, get some collaboration going, do some edits, do different things, which was really awesome. We will be meeting again next month, as we do every month for Creator Meetup. So check the February calendar, which will go live this week on our social media. So keep an eye out for that. We also had Stories for Linkers yesterday, which is our kids book club, and we had a blast learning about how we can tell duality of characters in different situations, and how a character who can overcompensate and also fix some of the things about their nature that they want when they do take on those extra roles in their life, which was really fun. And then we got to make up our own superheroes based on our own personality traits, which was awesome. We are going to not have a lot of events this week because Matt and I will be taking off for the San Diego Comic-Con The Cruise Volume 2, which kicks off this Friday and goes until next Tuesday. So a couple things to keep in mind. We do still have Queer Book Club this week on Wednesday, and we are reading Is Love the Answer, which is a really great manga. I'm so excited to talk about that. That is 6 p.m. on Wednesday. And then we will not be taking any submissions at all for grading past Thursday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we will not be taking any grading submissions at all. We will not be doing any buys for comic collections. So if you have comics that you want to sell, hold on to them. We will be back next week, regular hours and everything. But right this this coming weekend, Friday through Sunday, do not bring any collections in. Do not bring any books for grading or pressing. We will not accept them. The people who are watching the store, Katie will be here. She will not be accepting any of those things. So don't bring them and leave them with Katie. She's not taking them. Just wait. So that's going to be going on, and we'll be doing some fun stuff, showing you some of the cool stuff that's happening on the San Diego Comic-Con cruise while we're there. I actually think that there's still spots available, and I think it's still open for registration as of yesterday. I still saw like the pricing information up. So if you know you're off this week and you want to go next weekend on a cruise, come on with us. It'll be a lot of fun. But that said, we are going to be kicking off this big week of comics with one more drink of this wine. And then we're going to go jump into those books. I taste the black currant. And I've had so many blueberries today that it actually tastes like everything I've had to eat today, because I had this awesome bowl of blueberries and pineapple and strawberries.
There's not a lot of blueberry wines.
Yeah.
This is very good.
This is very good. I think there should be more blueberries in wine because I love blueberries.
I will buy this again.
Yeah, absolutely. And where did you get this wine from, Matt?
Total Wine.
Total Wine.
And I think it was $13, maybe less.
Okay. Oh, that's not bad. A good wine. Would you say that you would recommend this for more advanced or more like starter wine drinkers?
I would probably have this not first, but maybe third.
Okay.
Maybe if it was your third red after you started with some interesting things. It's a better Bordeaux than most Bordeaux. Most Bordeaux are really dry.
Yeah. And
like kind of complex. This is going to be a little softer.
Yeah.
But not sweet.
Right, not sweet, even though it has that Merlot in it. So. All right, well, let's talk about some comics because we got a bunch. So we're going to kick it off with I Hate Fairyland, issue 47 from Image Comics. If you don't know I Hate Fairyland, this is the story of Gert, who as a young girl wished for a chance to go to Fairyland, where she was supposed to go on a magical adventure, but Gert isn't the brightest of young ones, and she gets stuck in Fairyland for about 40 years. But she's still trapped in the body of a young girl, and she's very angry and very brutal. In the last issue, since she was stuck there, she decided she was going to make herself a very best friend, and she kind of Frankensteined a monster of her own creation, except unfortunately for her, it had a lot of big feelings and a lot of soft emotions, and Gert couldn't handle that. And so she decided she was going to try again by making a companion for that monster, so she never had to deal with it ever again. And that companion came out a lot more like Gert. We've got a very angry little monster on our hands, and she is determined to treat the monster, to teach the monster how they can take out Gert together. And so we get to see the instruction part of that happening in here as we set up what may be an epic battle between Gert and her own creations, and more chances to get home completely lost forever along the way. We've got Witchblade, issue 18 from Image Comics and the Top Cow imprint. This is the wrap-up of this arc that we've been following of Witchblade recently. As we've seen, if you don't know, Witchblade is the story of a police officer named Sarah, who is a detective who is kind of on one of the few good cops out there, and she is given the power of this ancient talisman, the Witchblade, and now she can see angels and demons, and the fact that the fight for this city is bigger than what she ever assumed. In this arc, she's been working with a teenage girl to figure out, I think she's more like in her 20s, probably like a 20-year-old girl. They've been working together to figure out the murders that are happening on the street and what's been going on. And as they've solved that situation and those issues, they've kind of built a bond between the two of them, and our younger girl has decided that she's kind of taken on the role of the guy in the chair for Sarah as the Witchblade, and she's done all this research, and we get to see exactly how long the Witchblade has been around and what kind of people it selects, and what that lore is going to be for this version of Witchblade. And we finally get that in this issue as she's explaining it to Sarah herself, and how the Witchblade goes all the way back to the fall of Adam and Eve and the Garden of Eden, and that Eve is the first wearer of the Witchblade, which is really cool to see them actually trace that throughout all of that history as the story goes on. We've got The Return of Knights with issue 17 from Image Comics. This is such a cool book. I always say this is like if Miyazaki Studio Ghibli movies were made and stories were made for the American audience and took place in there. In fact, this takes place in an alternate version of Florida. And over the course of this, we've been following a couple different people who have these creatural sides to them. And in this arc, we've gone back in time and we've been following the story of Grey, the vampire, and kind of how she ended up accomplice with this agent. And so we're seeing really the story of the agent and this magical force that he works for, and how Grey got connected to it. And this is really the wrap up of that story, and we get to see Grey, the love that Grey had for somebody, and the way she thought she was going to be able to have this normal life, and just the destruction that all of that comes with all of that, and how Grey really has never had a chance to have that normal life. But also, what is it that put that agent on that path, and why do they have that secret connection? We get to see in this issue. We've got Redcoat issue 16 from Image Comics and our Ghost Machine imprint, which was imprint of the year at the Batastic Awards, and this is one of the reasons why. Redcoat is such a fantastic book and continues to just grow into something really awesome. If you don't know, Redcoat is the story of Simon Pure, who decides to leave his post as a Redcoat during the war, only to fall into trouble when he discovers that the Founding Fathers are actually trying to give immortality to themselves, and instead of themselves, they end up giving it on accident to Simon Pure, who, as he says, is anything but. Although Simon does seem to have a way bigger heart than what he has ever let on to. In this arc, we are seeing that Simon has settled down with a woman and is going under a fictional name, trying to have a normal life with a wife and children, and just working as a tailor. And he is approached by a now much older Albert Einstein, who he has gone on previous missions with throughout all of Einstein's childhood, to be told that the dangers that they faced originally, the danger that came from Benedict Arnold, has returned, as well as Benedict, and that they must figure out how to find him and stop him before it's too late, because once again, the destruction of all of America may be something that only Simon Pure can stop, and he's going to have to go into this. One of the things I love is they always do these incredibly cool wraparound covers. And this is no exception. What a cool image that they've created here. And I absolutely cannot wait to see how this all connects. We've seen that Simon has had a conversation and a connection point with a Northerner who is now in the Geiger world. And so how are all of these going to connect, and what exactly is coming for us in the unnamed universe? We're going to see very soon, I think. We've got Power Fantasy issue 15 from Image Comics. This is Kieran Gillen doing for superheroes, and really for the X-Men, what he did for the Zodiac signs in Wicked and Divine, and just giving us another one of those really intense stories. And over the last 14 issues leading up to this, we've learned that essentially this universe's Charles Xavier is a man who has that ability to read minds and control them, but because of that thinks he's the only one who can understand ethics, and therefore should be allowed to destroy and control all of the other heroes and powered people in this world. And they finally figure out that that's exactly what's happening, and so they have recently taken him out on their own, and now there's this destruction that's imminent, because so much of what they thought was him just manipulating and controlling them was also him really keeping the regulation and the understanding and the balance of the universe at bay. And now we have found some of our heroes are no longer willing to play within the confines that they've been in. And in this issue, we see the gates of hell literally coming open, and the fabric of our universe may be at its end. And who's actually going to put that all back together, and whose side is who on, we're going to see as this story continues to unfold. There's so much rich culture and density into what Kieran created in Power Fantasy that you just have to check it out. We've got Exquisite Corpses issue 9 from Image Comics and our Tiny Onion imprint. If you have not read Exquisite Corpses yet, you're going to want to grab that first trade paperback and catch up, because you're probably not going to find those first 4 issues many places. But this is the story of 13 families who essentially run everything in America and control our government and our society. And what they do is every 4 years they pick some champions and they send into just a random small town that they cut off from society, and they basically have a battle royale in that town, and whoever's champion comes out winning the game, like by destroying everybody else's champion, that person becomes the family that rules the country for the next 4 years and has the ultimate say-so. Well, we have found our people in our town are starting to wise up to what's happening here, and they are building their own alliances against these champions as we see less and less members of the families on the board. We also, in this issue, learned that the rules are actually way more specific, and even though there's been a lot of backstabbing and underhanded like shifts and alliances and things like that, we actually learned that some of the people in the families take the rules very, very seriously, and what's going to come and what is going to happen is going to be not only dependent on those rules, but also on the changes that these people who actually live in this town are bringing to the table. I'm sure we only have a few more issues left, because there's not much more that they can do with the battle itself, but there's definitely something big coming in Exquisite Corpses. We've got Adventure Time, issue 9 from Oni Press. If you are a fan of Adventure Time, this is just going to expand your universe just a little bit, give you a new story that doesn't necessarily go into any one specific timeline in your Adventure Time world. But in our first arc, we saw as Finn and Jake had to go on an adventure. They were trying to find Billy, who is the great hero, and a special book that would help them solve the problem of this dangerous person who was attacking them. They had lots of problems between the two of them. They figured it out. All is good. Now we're back on new adventures. And in this new adventure, we are already seeing, of course, some dangerous things as we come face to face with a new character that we have to try to go on this adventure with. And they've got some hijinks immediately ensuing as they're trying to explain essentially to this giant woman what kind of questers they are and why they're going to do that. And in there they are able to find some new friends and some old friends as they journey on this. We also always get a backup story in this issue or in the Adventure Time issues, and right now we're following as Marceline tries to figure out what is going on with the Ice King and something secretive that we still don't really know what it is. Biker Mice from Mars, issue 8, also from Oni Press, just giving us some of those cartoon funds coming to the comics for us. If you haven't read this, we are in an ongoing now with the Biker Mice from Mars, and in it, they have been battling the Plutarchians, trying to save Mars as they have started mining it for resources and using natural disasters from a machine to take out the Martians. And the Biker Mice, of course, are the only ones standing. They're not the only ones standing against it. Sorry, that's wrong. They are leading the charge of the people standing against it. But the mice have had to go off into space to try to save the scientist, the only one that can save the planet. And that's leaving the rebellious forces on their own to deal with the Plutarchians who are taking over. And in this issue, they are actually the Plutarchians are starting to hurt other people to try to get the resistance to turn themselves in. And they're trying to figure out how they can continue to stand against these Plutarchian officials without causing more harm to the people of their own planet. You get a lot of action, a lot of adventures, and a lot of really good development in this issue as the Martians and the Biker Mice both are trying to figure out where they stand and who's on their side and how can they align together. We've got Ghost Pepper, issue 7 from Image Comics and the Skybound imprint. This book continues to just become a bigger and bigger world. You can definitely see the cinematic growth of this as it feels like we're building out the plot of a movie. It's getting so big. But this is all about a girl who owns her own food truck in a post-apocalyptic, very sci-fi-esque kind of world. And in that, she is successful in her food truck because she always makes food with ghost peppers, which is a secret ingredient in this world where stuff like that doesn't really exist anymore. She ends up becoming friends with a guy who seems to have no no real description of where he's come from and why he has all of these crazy powers, but he keeps saying that it's something from this old war that he fought in, and basically the person who is their leader has been lying about the accomplishments he had, and now our leader has figured out that our hero, our long lost hero Ash, has returned, and he has sent his assassins after this person to try to stop them. And so we're seeing those alliances in this get formed, and also these people coming after Ash, and we do get to actually see like some of his big powers and how they're impacting the story. We are about to see, I think, a really big showdown, but one of the cool things we see in this issue is that Ash reminds the people of this world that the government does not control the people control the government, and is like, hey, you guys don't have to follow their faith or their rules, you can fight back for yourselves, and I'm here to help you do just that. Great issue for Ghost Pepper, for sure. We have VR Troopers issue 6 from Boom Studios. If you are a fan of the VR Troopers show, this is going to give you a nice little run, kind of set up the idea of that universe in the comics. Definitely fun for if you never saw VR Troopers. This is a great one for people who are currently reading Power Rangers, as it's kind of in the same universe. But this is about the 3 VR Troopers, and they have been trying to stop this weird organization that is attacking the Earth and trying to get them done to like not be able to fight anymore. And in the process of doing that, one of our troopers learns that his family, he's always thought that he was an orphan. He learns that both his mom and his dad are actually still out there and in different capacities. His mom has now shown up, and she is wearing a uniform similar to his, and is like, I can help you fight against the dangers that are happening, and I can help you and your friends take these people down. But I need you to understand also that this bad guy that y'all are fighting against, your dad works for them. And I don't think your dad's a bad guy, but I don't think your dad can get away from them. And so they've got this really charged issue. This is the end of the arc in this one for sure. And we've got a really charged issue of this character having to come face to face with the reality of like all of this hitting him at one time, while also trying to deal with these fights, and remembering that his other troopers can be that family he needs, and kind of putting that all together in this moment. It gets really intense for him several times throughout this. Speaking of really intense, Good as Dead issue 5 is out from Image and the Skybound imprint. This book is just building on that concept that we talk about so much in our workshops of you got to give yourself a time frame that makes it both like terrifying and like strong all at the same time, and realistic. This book is playing in so many ways with that, because we have a town that was trying to open up a new bridge to give more growth to the town and to let more people come into it. And when that bridge is blown up on the day of its unveiling, there is also like a biological warfare kind of thing that happens, and it leaves a bunch of people very, very like deathly sick, immediately getting this virus that's just like eating them away at them from the inside out. And that includes the sheriff. And so he has essentially hours, like 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever it is, that he's actually going to be able to survive. And he is like, I have to solve this entire case in that time period. Unfortunately for this sheriff, every rock he overturns to try to solve this case just makes more mess for him. There is so many more things that are happening. The family that he thought was the big crime family that could be behind all of it may not be actually involved at all, may be involved in a way he never expected. His own deputy might be like an informant for the FBI, but she also is involved with the crime family. There are so many people that are just twisted and turned all up in this small town. And who is actually responsible for this, and what is going on, and who is like, whether or not any of this was an accident, we are actually going to find out, hopefully before our sheriff dies. It gets wilder every issue. Speaking of wild and wild animals, we've got Stitch issue 5 from Dynamite and their Disney Comics imprint. This is such a cute series. Every issue is just a standalone story of like the villains trying to come up with different ways that they can destroy the world. And in this one, Jumbo has decided that he is going to, his new evil plan, his new destruction of the world is that he is going to turn everybody into dolls. And of course, as always, as soon as he comes up with a plan like that, Stitch makes the machine activate, and turns everybody in the world into dolls, but it also brings Lilo's doll to life. And so we've got one doll who gets to go on this wild adventure of her own while everybody else is stuck really contemplating the changes and the reality of their lives. And we learn that doll time moves really, really slowly. So everybody else is trying to just sit there and evaluate the world. And this doll is having the greatest adventure of her life. She goes to the moon. She goes dancing. She goes to the beach. She goes to climb Mount Everest. She does all kinds of stuff. And then she kind of realizes that she's doing it all alone, and she tries to figure out ways that she can change that. And so we just get a really fun story about that balance of feeling alone and yet wanting, to know what the world really means. And it's these Stitch books, they always have like these really deep concepts and with all the hijinks to get us there. So if you're a fan of Lilo and Stitch, or if you just like the Stitch cartoon, which was more Stitch based than the Lilo and Stitch movie, you should check out the Stitch book because they are just Stitch based for the most part. We've got Powers 25, issue 5 from Dark Horse. This is the 25th anniversary of the Powers series from by Michael Bendis and Michael Avon Oeming. And they have given us a brand new story in this world with a bunch of new characters. And for the first time, we are actually seeing a person with superpowers get to join the Powers division. So if you don't know the Powers world, basically this is a world where superpowered people exist. And there is a department in the police department that is just responsible for the crimes happening to and caused by people with those superpowers. And for the first time, we are allowing somebody on that unit that actually has superpowers. And he is teamed up with the child of one of our original Powers officers as they are trying to solve a very big case in which we saw a giant superhero lose their head at the beginning of the very first issue. And the problem is that pretty much everybody in the department is somehow implicated in this, and we're not really sure who is causing that and what they're doing, but we are trying to piece it all together and solve this mystery. And in this issue, we bring in one of the one of the richest people in town who's a scientist who's also connected to all this power stuff and owns his own private investigation firm. And in this, we see they have maybe made a huge mistake, as now the entire Powers division might get shut down just for trying to go in opposition to this guy. Definitely a great way to bring back the series for sure. We've got Supernatural issue 4 from Dynamite and their WB books. If you are a fan of Supernatural in any capacity, you will love this book. It gives us the early Supernatural days where it's kind of creature feature of the week, but also still arcing that story together as Sam and Dean are going on this adventure. And it's early in the series because they still don't know what happened to their mom or their dad, and so they're kind of trying to piece all of that together and find that demon lore. And in the last issue, they stopped a guy who was committing some dangerous, magic murders and things like that, and was doing it all through a book club. And so they have the book, and they're like, we're going to return this to the library to see if there's any connection, only to find out that this library is filled with ghosts and demons. And so now they are in this battle in this issue to try to solve the mystery of the demons in the library and the ghosts in the library. But really, half of it you're like, well, they just really want to keep reading. Maybe that's not so bad, but if I die, I hope I get to haunt a bookstore or a library and read forever. That sounds like the greatest thing ever. But of course, there's twists and turns, and Sam and Dean have to save the day, and you'll get to see how they do just that before the issue is over. We've got Gunpowder Prophets issue 4 from Mad Cave. This is your 70s style wild adventure into magic and crime and all at the same time. We are following two guys who kind of work to as detectives / hitman kind of world to try to, but for the paranormal people and for cults and kind of things like that. And so in this, they were hired by a woman to go and save her daughter because her daughter has been raised in this death cult, and the dad is now determined to make his daughter this sacrifice so he can embrace all of her power and use it for his own good. And the woman wants her daughter back before that can happen. Of course, once they get there and they're trying to rescue this young girl, they realize that there is, bad on both sides. Like, neither one of them is really a parent who is in this for the right cause. But in the last issue, when they had thought they had saved the girl, they get attacked. She runs away, trying to get to her own safety, thinking it's too late. And she is captured by a man who decides he's going to put her up for auction for all of these different, like, paranormal, supernatural family groups. And so we get to see exactly how big this universe of different tribes and families and stuff are, and what they all kind of want this girl for. And we actually get to learn what, like, powers she may be coming into, as our guys have to figure out a way to come into this battle and stop this auction from happening, and once again save the girl before it's too late. We've got Terror Bites, issue 4 from Mad Cave. A big Mad Cave week. In this issue, we are continuing on our adventure. Terror Bites is an anthology, but it has a frame tale of a bunch of alien, or not alien, but robots who have landed on an alien planet, which is really our Earth, it seems to be. And it's years and years after the Earth has reclaimed itself, humanity is gone, and these robots just kind of keep going from place to place to figure out what humanity was like as they do these investigations. And in this one, they end up discovering the story of a man who was a big YouTuber who felt like his thing was just to do, like, the most extreme stories ever. And he felt like he couldn't actually get anything done because he didn't think his staff was good enough. And what he really wanted was another version of himself. So he gets an AI alternative version of himself and kind of gives that too much power. What I love about this is there is a woman in this story who is the attorney of the group, and she's like, you guys know nothing about how AI actually works. And she does a really great way of explaining that, like, AI basically parrots the things that we want to hear, and this guy is hearing all of that, and as he's doing that, he's losing complete choice of reality, and he's starting to get really, really involved in a lot of illegal things, but he thinks that it's not illegal because that's what his AI is telling him. And this goes downhill really, really, really fast for him, and kind of goes downhill really fast for humanity as well. A really great, like, twisty turny, almost like a long form version of an EC story, but also with that, like, modern problem feel of, like, hey, these are things, like, we're actually seeing, and you're to use the words of the story itself, you gotta brace yourself for it because some stuff's about to happen real crazy. And you'll recognize the idea behind the YouTubers if you actually read it too. We've got Death to Pachuco issue 4 from Image and the Top Cow imprint. This is such a cool one. If you were a fan of good Asian, I think you would also really like this, because this gives us another, like, 30s, 40s kind of time period detective story that follows a group of people who were really marginalized during that time period. And this is following a detective who has been hired to solve the case because this man was murdered, and a woman took the blame for it, and now she's in prison, and she's going to be, she's either going to be there forever, she's going to be executed. And we find out that, like, we know she didn't do it, but she doesn't want anything to happen to her mom and her sister, and so she feels like she has to take this blame so that it keeps the people off of it. Well, we're starting to see more and more about this case come to life. Things are getting a lot more dangerous. We're also just seeing this racial tension build between, like, some sailors in the area and this community. And so we're seeing both of these things kind of come to play, and the dangers that are mounting on both sides, as it's like, okay, well, now we're kind of mixed in with all these gang members and all of these dark, like, mobsters that are trying to take us down, but also, like, we're not really safe in general just because of the color of our skin. And we get to see how that's all going to build and come to a head as we follow this. And I do like that even on the back, like, we get some information all the time of just different, like, quotes and excerpts from different things that happen and stories that kind of covered that in the past as well. So it's really cool to get to add that little extra bit to it each and every time, but it's definitely a cool story. we've got Starship Godzilla issue 4 from IDW. Right now we are in the Kaisei era of Godzilla, which is our brand new, like, first introduction to this new era that we've had. It didn't start in the movie, it started in the comics, which is really cool. And this is one more world building element to that, as we follow a team of people who are they're kind of like the Guardians of the Galaxy. They seem to do a lot of bounty hunting. They seem to do a lot of, retrieving objects and selling them to other people situation. But in that group is a young girl who kind of wants to do good in the world. And she thinks that that's what the team she's on is doing. But she's starting to doubt that as she comes in contact with another girl similar to her in age. And she kind of starts to develop a relationship with her while they're stopped on this planet. And she starts to see that there's a lot more going on in their world that she's never, been told. And it's all related to the kaiju. And she's starting to question whether or not she's on the right team, because this girl ends up in danger. And when she wants to go and help them, they're like, that's not really what we do. And she's like, a person is in danger. Like, I feel like that should be what we do. And more big twists and turns that kind of reveal all of the different people's alliances happen. And we're going to see exactly where she falls, probably in the next issue, which I think maybe the last one, maybe there's 6. I'm not sure. We've got Murder Podcast issue 4 from Ignition. I have no idea if they are planning on ending this anytime soon. I have no idea how they're going to do that, because it just seems like it's getting more and more deadly and dangerous every issue. But Murder Podcast, if you don't know, is the story of a podcast that when people listen to it, they kind of go psychotic and start killing whoever's around them. And we are following a group of friends who have been friends for a really long time. And one of them is a detective, and she is responsible for this case. And one of them has actually almost died because of this case. And now they're like, hey, we need to do something about this. Like, we've got a friend who's on this. She can't solve she can't solve the murders. She can't figure it out on her own. We need to kind of help her figure this out. But also, our friend was attacked, and so we need to make sure it doesn't happen to anybody else in our group. And so they start trying to do their own research, which of course backfires, because the friend who's a cop is like, hey, you guys need to stay out of this, you're getting in the way. Lots of tension starts to mount between the group as big things that have been building between each of them kind of come to light. And as the friend group itself gets a little shakier and rocky, the murders start to escalate. And there's definitely some danger afoot, and we're gonna see. I don't know if all the friends are gonna make it, and I don't know if all the relationships are gonna make it. I don't know if they're physically gonna make it. The world is getting really dangerous in Murder Podcast, and you should definitely check it out. Before we go to number 3s, I'm gonna take a drink. We are drinking Chateau La Leville. Spicy or no?
Thicker, more body.
Mm-hmm. But still very silky. Like, it's keeping that silky texture.
A little bit more tart.
Mm-hmm. I think that's that black currant opening up more, if I had to guess.
It's very good.
Yeah. Yummy, yummy, yummy. All right, we're gonna keep going. We've got Liquidator issue 3, also from Mad Cave. I told you it was a big Mad Cave week. This book continues to really just kind of blow my mind with where it's going and how many twists and turns it can take. If you have been following along, issue 1 talked about how this book was, about a time travel agency that hires people to go back in time and to destroy these time anomalies and the people who are related to them. And in issue 1, we are following this woman who has been doing this for a while and is starting to lose her touch base points with reality and isn't really sure if this is the world that she's in is even real anymore. Well, issue 2, after making us think like one guy was the bad guy, issue 2 flipped it all on us and sends us back in time to see the story of another one of the liquidators, a man who really figures out that he should not trust this organization and kind of breaks away from it and gets involved with some more dangerous things. And so we're like, okay, so who's the good guy, who's the bad guy? Issue 3 kind of brings those two worlds together in a completely different way than you're expecting, because I'm still not really sure, like we're kind of like, okay, we've got to take down this government organization. We know that we need to do that now because this is like, they're manipulating these people and they're putting them all in danger, but also like they're sending people back in time to kill people, but also like this guy doesn't seem like he's wrong either. And so we get this really like dual-sided story, and like if everything keeps twisting and turning, we're missing pieces of the story because we're once again following the woman in this one, and she just finds herself like inside places, outside places, with no knowledge of how she got there. But then when we follow the guy, we kind of get those pieces put together, and so we go back and forth between the two voices in this, and it just keeps adding more and more layers onto it. And I have no idea what to tell you where this is going. Again, book 3, your turn. The turn is, I have no idea where it's going. Then you just need to read it because it's so well done. All right, we've got Doctor Who, issue 3. This is the Prison Paradox. This is from Titan Comics and, of course, Doctor Who. I'm so excited. This has been such a fun series that just reminds you of all the reasons you love the Doctor and Doctor Who, in that it gives us those like heartfelt adventures. And so basically the Doctor is trapped in this prison with a bunch of different people who all feel like, you know, they don't matter for different reasons, like society has pushed them out for different things, and the Doctor is trying to lead them through this maze of this prison to get to his companion, who is being held hostage by the warden of this, and each one kind of follows a different one of the people that is with the Doctor and kind of gets to tell their story. And I love it because this issue follows an adipose, and I love adipose, as the book even tells us. Like, everybody loves them because they're so cute, and then they hate them when they find out how they multiply, and also that they basically just, you know, are like fat cells that eat our body and do terrible things and kill people. But look at how cute they are. They're so cute. Anyway, this little Annie the Adipose has to do her part to save the Doctor and the other allies that they have on their team, and we just get this beautiful heartfelt story. And again, the Doctor is going to be very angry when he gets to this warden if this keeps going the way it's going. And if you watch Doctor Who, if you read Doctor Who stories, you know when the Doctor's angry, get out of their way. And we're going to see exactly what happens when that does. We've got The Disavowed, issue 3. This is from Devil's Due and the massive, the massive, what do we call it? Their distribution at this point, I guess. It's Devil's Due. Anyway, this is such a cool book if you are a fan of G.I. Joe, because Josh Blaylock has worked on G.I. Joe before. It is giving us that G.I. Joe story that he's always wanted to tell, that kind of takes in a different way. This is essentially like the way Radiant Black was for, and Rogue Sun were for Ryan Parrott and Kyle Higgins, who had been writing Power Rangers forever, and then they got to do their own like non-universe story in that way. This is what The Disavowed kind of becomes. It feels very much like a G.I. Joe. And we are following a young guy who's now grown up. When he was a young kid, he found out that his dad was a member of this essentially elite force, these operatives, this team, and he was a part of all this stuff, and he's worked his way through the military trying to get to the same force, and now for the first time he is actually connecting not only with the force that he thought he was going to join, but actually with the original members in this issue that his dad worked with. And he is learning a lot of information about like who his dad actually was and who they were actually fighting. And maybe they didn't all actually disappear. Maybe something completely different happened. But we get to see him in this issue. He's like in this flight with them, and they're just kind of downloading him with all this information. And so we actually get to see the backstory of the Disavowed and what happened to them in a very G.I. Joe-esque kind of story. So if you are a fan of G.I. Joe, and you're like, I want something else to add to my list, or if you're somebody who's like, I kind of like the concept of G.I. Joe, but I never got into it, this is a really great way because it's a little grittier, darker version of that concept. I think his name's even Dane instead of Duke. Like, it's like that close. Like, We've got Astrobots. This is Volume 2, Issue 3, and this is from Massive. In the way that the Disavowed kind of gives you a G.I. Joe story without using G.I. Joe, this is going to give you a Transformer story without using the Transformers. This is all about a world where the Earth has been destroyed, and we sent a group of robots out to a different planet to kind of eco-farm the planet and get it ready for us. Now that the Earthlings are starting to arrive with the robots who have been caring for them on their ship, we learned in Volume 1 that the robots didn't want to give up the place that they had created for themselves, and so they started attacking the human ships and going to war with them. We kind of had this one rebellious robot who has survived the dead zone and has been like the rogue robot, and he led the charge to save the people. Well, in this volume, the people are looking for where do we take them? Like, where do we take the people now that they can't go to that city? Where are we going to take them? And so the humans and the robots that are on the side of good are starting to work together to figure out like where they can actually call home and what they're going to do with their future, and how are they going to go against Atlas, the evil robot who is, you know, taking over this world. And so we're starting to see different battles come to head here. We've found we've got some you know, people who are traitors in our midst, essentially, as they want to gain their own power, but we're going to see exactly some really cool battles, but we're also going to see some really cool growth from some of the robots. And again, if you're a fan of Transformers and you want something else, that's definitely the one. We've got The Beauty, Issue 3 from Ignition, and a super awesome congratulations to The Beauty for launching their TV show with Hulu and FX this week with 3 episodes. I believe they had insanely awesome numbers, and I think their trailer became like the most like watched like FX trailer of all time. Anyway, if you don't know The Beauty, this is about a world where people actually, when they get, there is this like sexually transmitted disease that when you get it, it actually makes you more beautiful, and it kind of gives you this power of like charisma and charm. And so people have started working to actually get that disease from other people. Well, in this volume, we are actually following along as a meteorologist is trying to keep himself at the top of his game, and he realizes that the other meteorologists have actually contracted the beauty, and so he decides that he's going to go out and get it. Well, the day that he does, the party that he gets it at, which is the secret beauty party, actually ends up with a murder happening, and now we're following as the cops are trying to figure out like who is responsible for this murder, how is he connected to this. He's starting to see himself like he's like, okay, well, oh my gosh, like am I screwed? Is this gonna happen? We also have got this mysterious character who's coming in who is working on some very dangerous things and seems to be maybe possibly harvesting beauty people. Things are going crazy in this, and we are just getting started. I don't know if this will end up connecting to the show anytime soon, because they are going off of that original Volume 1. But those original Volume 1s are collected in trade paperbacks, so you can check that out if you missed it. We've got American Caper, Issue 3 from Dark Horse. Some of you may not have gotten this if you shop at Bad City, because our whole slew of issues didn't arrive yet, but oh my gosh, if you did, you know that this is getting crazy. This is the story of a man who is an attorney for an industry where he is, you know, he kind of has like, he's supposed to be the attorney, but he kind of has like the job of cleaning up all the messes and getting involved and having to help them make these terrible decisions. And he has no real power in any capacity for his own agency. And he's kind of just that not even lovable loser. He is just like the guy that you're like, this guy is gonna mess up everything, and it's just gonna get worse and worse on every page, and it does. Meanwhile, he has a wife who is like an internet activist, but not like in a good way. She has kind of lost her mind and thinks that like he is just like the problem, and she's just gone like completely like crazy. His son is obsessed with video games and wants nothing to do with him. His daughter wants nothing to do with him. He's in love with the neighbor's wife. The neighbor is somehow involved in some murders that are happening, which are all connected to different things. And also like this van crashed into their houses, and we saw some people like escape out of this van that were in their own situation. And so we are following like a bunch of different stories, all of which are going incredibly terrible for everybody involved. And it's only going to get worse because our FBI agents that are investigating aren't necessarily the best tip-top agents either. Things are getting messier and messier with the cases he's trying to solve. This book is such a like action comedy that you have to absolutely check it out with just how absurd it gets. And it is done by the people who did the Grand Theft Auto games. And so if you are fans of that, you should definitely read it because it does have some of that feel. We've got TMNT Battle Nexus issue 3 from IDW. If you are a Ninja Turtles fan and you thought, man, I wish there was a DC KO style story for me, here it is. This is you're coming into your battle right here. And at the end of the last issue, I told you it would have to be spoiled for you by the time we got here. We found out who this week's battle was going to be from, and it is between Raphael and Alopex, who is Raphael's ex-girlfriend. So basically, if you don't know what's going on, the turtles have been brought to this alternate reality where they are being forced to battle against different people, and whoever wins, gets to survive, and whoever loses doesn't. And we've already seen Leonardo go into his battle, and it did not go well. And now Raph is in his fight. And it's so funny because this person is like, oh, well, this battle is going to be great because you guys hate each other. And Raphael's like, I don't hate Alopex. I just made, I was a bad boyfriend. We made some stupid choices. And it does actually connect that story back to what happened in Sophie Campbell's run. And they kind of talk about that. So also it's great to fill you in on some things if you didn't read that whole thing. And this is actually written by Sophie Campbell. I believe in this issue. And so this is, we get to see Donatello actually figure it out as it does set up Donatello as the next fighter. And you're going to see who Donatello is fighting. And it's cool because you do get a really cool story about all of these characters at the same time as getting your little battle royale. We also have Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue 3 from IDW. This is based off of the new Ninja Turtles movie that came out. It's in that world to give those turtles a big story, and it's really cute. Donatello is going to a science camp because he wants to have fun and all the other guys are at home. And if you've been reading, you know that in the last 2 issues, we found out that Donatello was actually at a science camp run by a villain who was trying to steal all of their research from all these scientist kids so that they could create robots that could attack the world. Well, they've done it, and those robots are about to attack, and Donatello and his friends are kind of on their own, and it is not looking good for Donatello. But luckily for Donatello, the power goes out back at home, and none of the guys are smart enough to figure out how to turn the power back on. And when they bring Wingnut in to help them, Wingnut's like, well, where's Donatello? And they're like, at camp. And they're like, have you heard from him? And they're like, no. And they're like, something's probably wrong. And so the guys show up at the camp, and they're like, Donatello's like, wow, how did you guys know? And they're all like, we actually just don't know how to turn the power back on, Donatello. It's the only reason we're here. We didn't know. But it's great that we're here to help you now. And Donatello is narrating all of this story from around a campfire at the camp, and we get to see how this issue wraps up that story for them, and maybe leads us to some more fun stories with these kiddos, because I love these turtles. They're so fun. We've got the Defenders of the Earth Dark Destiny issue 2 from Mad Cave. This is picking up where the Defenders of the Earth series that we previously had ended, and kind of continuing that battle. So recently, Mongo and all of the people, like Ming and all the people connected to that planet, where all the evil rulers have been stopped, and so now Mongo doesn't really have anybody leading, and there's no uniformity throughout the galaxy on who is kind of supposed to take that charge. And so the Defenders of the Earth have come looking for Dale, the love of Flash Gordon's life, only to actually find themselves attacked by everybody else and Flash Gordon arrested, because they feel like if maybe Flash has to do a battle to the death and stand trial, that maybe, just maybe, everybody will come together over the decision to harm Flash Gordon instead of each other. But that doesn't necessarily go their way when a secret surprise guest is one of the people in the battle. And now we're going to see exactly where that leads the group as those things are revealed. And also the kids are back home having their own battles that may actually lead them all together. We've got The Darkness, issue 2 from Image Comics and the Top Cow imprint. And I know what a crazy world this is that we have both Witchblade and The Darkness back on the shelf. It's like 1994 all over again. But in this story, we are following Jackie, who is eventually supposed to become the Darkness, which is essentially like a kind of seems like it's going to be a little bit more evil, but he is using this, he has these demons at his control that he is able to use to fight against these angels, all of which are coming after him because, of course, the darkness is going to lead to the destruction of the world. Jackie, however, kind of just wants to take over this mobster family that he's in and have that life that he was building towards. He was really happy with the fact that he could have anything he wanted. He could go anywhere he wanted. He could, sleep with anyone he wanted. And now all of a sudden he can't do any of that because angels are trying to kill him and demons are awaiting his rule. And he is hunting down his childhood best friend from the orphanage he was raised in because he kind of just needs somebody to ground him. Unfortunately for him, they are attacked together by these angels and nobody can see them but him and all of these things that are happening around him. And so he has to call forth the demons and open up that darkness that he didn't want to actually have to align himself with in order to save her. And that is the ultimate and only goal he kind of has now, is how does he keep this girl that he loves safe from all of the harm. We've got Dark Souls, Mother of Mourning, issue 2 from Titan Comics. This is following along in a new story in the Dark Souls world that takes that universe and kind of expands on it. And it is all about these soldiers these knights that have been challenged with finding their sacred mother and saving her and bringing her back so that the world that is slowly dying will actually possibly be saved. And every knight that's been sent on this quest has not returned. And so when they assign a new knight to the same quest, he's like, I'm not going to go it alone. I'm going to take the other knights remaining with me, these two friends of mine, and we're going to go through this together. And as they are on this journey, they meet a crow who is giving them all of the advice that they need. Unfortunately, it's not... they do not heed the advice as well as they should, and they end up in a dangerous situation. But according to this crow, this is also the only way that they can get through, because they must now battle like the very thing that they don't want to have to face. And so we get to see these dark monsters and the things that have happened to our friends who have come before us as they try to figure out how to get through this battle so they can actually get to what they need. And they also figure out that there is another mother who is trying to take the place of theirs, and the mayhem that she will cause will be detrimental to the world. We've got Magnus Shakuta issue 2, and this is from Wiseacre Comics. This is a new superhero story, and it kind of has a lot of the feel of Invincible and more of that like violent superhero with the younger kid. And this is following Magnus, who lives in Chicago, and he's kind of just always kind of stayed away from all of the people. He's kind of just been, that outskirts people, but, good enough. Like, he's had a normal life for the most part. And in issue 1, a bunch of people came and started attacking him, telling him he was somebody who they were hunting for because of this great power within him, and he didn't want that, and he didn't know what they were talking about. And then another man shows up and kind of tries to save him. Unfortunately, a lot of people were injured and there were deaths of that. And so now the local police are trying to investigate Magnus to see what exactly is going on. But Magnus has started having these blackout moments, and every time he blacks out, he sees this future or this world that he's supposed to be a part of. And while he's trying to figure all of that out with his best friend, the evil people return, and Magnus finds himself in a very dangerous situation. I love how glossy these covers are. They're so smooth. We've got Miss Truesdale and the Rise of Man, issue 2, and this is from Dark Horse and our Hellboy universe, and this is actually being written by Mike Mignola, with Jesse Lonergan on art, which is just absolutely fantastic team up that you didn't know you always needed. You just get this awesomeness. If you don't know Miss Truesdale from the Hellboy world, she is this immortal woman who has been a part of, I mean, like it says, the rise of man. She's been a part of the world all throughout and has kind of battled at different points. And in this story, we are actually seeing how mankind came to be. And it's like, first there was the world of the fairies, and the fae kind of ruled the world, and then there was the mermaids who kind of ruled the world, and now man is supposed to be coming about. And in this, we see the mermaids learn that Miss Truesdale is going to bring about the rise of man, and that man will probably destroy the world. And so these mermaids are trying to fight against Miss Truesdale actually being able to bring the world of the rise of men to fruition. But they must learn whether or not it's their place to make that decision as they go into this battle. And honestly, it's so cool to look at the awesome paneling and the awesome art that Jesse does in this book. So you should definitely check this one out. Also, we don't get a lot of Hellboy stories that actually have Mignola on them, so it's cool. And I think he is. I think I said he was writing it. Yeah, he's actually writing it. We've got Briar, Knight's Terror, issue 2. This is the latest volume in the Briar world from Boom Studios. I believe this is the 3rd volume of Briar. And this is the story of Aurora, of Sleeping Beauty, that you never expected to get. Basically, we learn at the very beginning that our Sleeping Beauty character, Briar, was put to sleep by their version of Maleficent very early on. And when the prince arrived, he actually chose not to wake her, but instead to take over the kingdom and rule it. And now it's been that 100-year time period that she was supposed to sleep, and she's awakened to find that the world is full of battles and separation and people not getting along. And also, she still possibly is the destruction of this world. And maybe that's actually why she was put to sleep by the fairy. Maybe it wasn't just a slight, but maybe there was actually this idea that Briar could bring the destruction of everything. And now, after she's gone on all of these missions, trying to figure out how to get to this evil, like, fairy sorceress and actually stop her from all the things she's doing, Briar finds herself coming face to face in this volume with the reality of the fact that the closer she gets, the more she realizes more of that story is true than she ever knew, and the danger in this world might really truly be her. This is so good, and this volume really just took the story up a ton. So if you haven't read it yet, start at volume 1 and jump in, but know that, like, when you get to this volume, it just, the things that they change to the lore are so good. We've got Gotcha Man, and this is our one-shot featuring Jinpai. This is also from Mad Cave. All of the Gotcha Man characters have had their own one-shot that's kind of put them on their own adventure, and I really love the fun of this one. Jinpai is the youngest member of the Science Ninja team, and he is also kind of like our tech guru. And so because of that, he's often left, like, because he's young, he's often left behind on missions, and because he's the tech guy, they also kind of, like, expect him to just do the thing that they can't do. He's not really in the battle. And he is telling us in this issue about a time where the team went on a mission, and he's trying to reroute, like, these weapons and destroy them all on this computer, and everybody else just leaves and abandons him, essentially. And this machine, like, the ship that he's in, blows up, and everybody's like, oh my god, we thought we lost you. And he's like, well, you aren't too concerned because you left. And he kind of just feels like the team doesn't care about him. And then we see a different story come up, like, while he's doing, like, a different problem come up while he's telling that story, where a giant, like, mech creature is attacking the world, but their plane isn't ready for battle, and yet they have to go on this adventure anyway. And while they're doing it, we find that Jinpai was the only person who didn't suffer from this virus that attacked them on the last mission, and why he did it. And so now, once again, he's having to fight on his own, but he's realizing that he's not actually necessarily on his own ever if he's got his team. And so he's having, like, those kinds of realizations and moments. But such a great issue, and just one of those fun reminders for, like, people who are members of teams. Like, sometimes it feels like you're the only one doing the work, or you're so stressed about, like, whether or not the other team members like you and things like that. But there's more going on than what you know. We've got Speed Racer Tales from the Road, also from Mad Cave. This is our anthology that kind of just gives us a little bit more of our Speed Racer universe as it's building out between both Speed Racer and Racer X. And the first story in here is actually about the day that Racer X was born, as well as Speed, and like how the family came together. And so we get to see Pops get with his wife, and then the moment that they're realize that they're pregnant, and then when they have Racer X, and then when they have Speed and all this stuff, and you just kind of see like this family life growing and them like becoming the race family that they're going to be. And it's just a really cute story of the family growing, which of course, since everything is in Speed Racer, is geared around both the struggle that we have with Pops being in the hospital and Racer X and Speed working together, and yet not knowing that Speed not knowing that it is Racer X, his brother. It's interesting to see that kind of story and just the growth of that. And we do get to see the moment when they lose Racer X, which is not his actual name. And then we see a story of Dante Inferno, who is the leader of the bad guys, the rich man in charge of the race world, and he is making a bet with another rich man about how it's going. And we just kind of see the lengths he's willing to go to win a battle. And then this third story is all about the person that Speed recently replaced on his team, and that idea of being the underdog and trying to work your way up, only to have somebody come along who's just like this legacy person take your place, and how it feels to constantly be trying to find that space in the world. If you're reading the Speed Racer story, this is a great way to add to your universe, and all of it's so heartfelt. It's surprising, but that one, because of the anthology-ness of it, almost feels more like watching episodes of a show than even the ongoing series does. We've got Archie's Valentine's Spectacular. This is our seasonal one-shot, and in this we explore the world of A-pop, which is, the Archie universe version of K-pop. And the first story in here actually does not end, but it does give us a K-pop Demon Hunter style story in the Archie universe. And we get to see the girls have, which is Josie, Veronica, Betty, and Sabrina, our K-pop Demon Hunter characters, and a demon comes to town who tries to force the band to break up, and we get to see how they work together. Definitely really not a lot of connection to Valentine's Day for that one, but then we do get a bunch of backup stories that are reprints of the classics of just Betty and Veronica going head-to-head constantly to try to win Archie's affection over the Valentine's Day time. Of course, a thing that has happened time and time again. And so we get, I think there's like 5 or 6 different stories in there, and I love the one, I think this one was my favorite, was Veronica tried to win Archie over with money, and so Betty decides she's going to try to win Archie over with food, and she creates all her favorite her famous chocolates, and she just keeps refilling them every day in his locker. And finally, like, Archie can't handle it anymore, but the whole time Jughead's just like, hi, I love food. You can give me food. I love Valentine's Day. I mean, I don't, but I love chocolate. So it's really funny. We've got Touched by a Demon #1 from Dark Horse. This is a fun book that is definitely going to be something that you're going to want to read. This is such a cool, different story, and in that cutesy art style. It's very great if you're fans of Lucky Devils even, and things of that nature. But this is about 2 demons who decide that they are going to help create a life coaching opportunity. And so they decide that they're opening up this counseling center, and neither one of them have ever done it, but they're just kind of tired of the demons and the way hell runs things. And so they have a young girl who comes in, and she's basically like, so my family, I just exist so that they can use my organs to make my sister, who was born before me. She was born with all kinds of different medical conditions, and so, like, they took my kidney, now they're going to take my liver, they take my bone marrow, and my parents don't love me other than in those moments, because they just want to use me for the kid that they actually want to have. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, well, we're going to come undercover and we're going to check it out. And so we get to see the demons kind of go to her house do it. We also see what it's like to be a demon in this demon world and all the stuff that they're struggling with. It builds a big universe very quickly for us and leaves us on some huge cliffhangers in a couple of different ways. If you didn't read this one this week, I definitely recommend you come and add it to go to your store and add it to your pull list and check it out, because it's gonna go in some crazy different directions. All right, I'm gonna take another drink before we do picks of the week. We've got we're drinking this Côte de Bordeaux style wine, which is completely different. Oh, that peppery flavor comes in so strong, but it's so good. All right, we've got 3 picks of the week. I'm trying to decide in which order I really want to go in. We'll just go. Okay, we'll go this way. We'll do new, ongoing, and ending. All right, so we've got Bloodland #1 from Ignition. This book, I had no idea what I was going to be getting into. And this is such a horror version of, things that can be horrifying in more than one way. And so I'm just going to open it up. This is a world where the president has decided to extend their term and seize and shield the entire country through martial law and executive orders. And we are following along in 2 different stories in here, because first we are following a group of essentially resistance people who have taken this one kid that they found when they went to go see why these people were attacking, because there's this group of people called the White Cells that were attacking this area, and they found this kid in the area, and they were like, we're gonna interview, they take him in, and they're like, we're trying to figure out why you were with this group, and the kid's like, I wasn't with them. I mean, I was, but I wasn't. I don't like what they're up against. At the same time as all of that's going on, there's this woman who is in a hospital, has no idea any of this is happening. She just gave birth to a baby, and her baby is immediately taken from her, and we find out exactly what they take that baby for, and we find out that that's kind of a thing that they've been doing. And that's where the twist comes, because it's no longer just a book about what is happening with these humans in this futuristic dystopian America, but it also has to do with a very supernatural experience as well. And I don't want to show you too much from the back of the book, because I want you to kind of get a chance to read it. But I guess it doesn't really matter, because the cover kind of gives you a little bit of a hint as to what it is. But it is a really interesting way that they blended both this fictional, supernatural thing and things that could happen in the real world, and the way they mix those 2 things together. It's very much if you did see one battle after another, you can see a lot of that. You can see a lot of the movie Civil War in the influences of that side of the story. But then you also have this supernatural war going on. And so you kind of get your war from that side blending into it. If you, I'm just going to tell you the tagline on the back, because Ignition gives us blurbs, but they also give us great taglines. And this tagline is America is collapsing, and then there are vampires. So let's just throw it that way. Really great. Gotta check it out if you didn't grab it this week. Assorted Crisis Events, issue 8 from Image Comics. This is, we talk about Assorted Crisis Events all the time, about how it kind of deals with the human condition in a sci-fi way. One of the things that this issue does, other than smell beautiful because it's on newsprint, is it actually takes the comic creators' path and their life, and also the medium's story. And so you get to learn a lot about the comic medium, but also you get to learn about the how hard it is. Jack Kirby once said, comics will break your heart, kid. We're going to see that in this issue. This is following a man who is a comic creator who has, through many faults of his own, ended up unable to complete his job, and while not completing his job, he has ended up with his life in the gutter, self-proclaimed, where he calls that. And what I love about the way that Dennis Camp did the writing on this, and Sawadsky did the art, is they use the actual concept of comic gutters, which I love, because in all of our classes we talk all the time about what happens in the gutter is actually more important than what happens in your panels a lot of times. And that's such an interesting thing, because nothing actually really happens in the gutters. Like, you don't put anything in there, but that's the point, right? Like, it's like, what happened between A and B? There's something that you're supposed to interpret there. And that's what this entire issue is about. It's like, what does happen between that A and B? And when you're sitting there and you're focusing on the A and the B, do you miss everything that happens in the in-between? And as those in-between moments, like, they start to eat away at all of the other things, and there's more gutters than A's and B's, and eventually you find yourself like losing track of everything, and you're making these wrong choices, and you're missing the good choices, and your life suddenly falls apart. And we get to see him kind of deal with that. And again, it does have that commentary on the idea that, like, being a comic creator is not a high-paying job, and it's not a steady job, and there's also, like, and it is a solitary job, and there's so much that goes into it, and so many layers to this story, because you can identify with it just as somebody, like, who is worried about, like, the life and the things that you have to do and the decisions you make and how they impact everything. You can understand it from that idea, if you are like a creative person, of feeling the stress of all of that and not knowing if you can do it, and just so much. It also kind of gives us the first, like, touch back to the concept that was originally brought up in issue 1 of Assorted Crisis Events, that there is something going on and with those crises. And so well done. Definitely check it out. And then lastly, we have the conclusion of Everything Dead and Dying. This is issue 5 from Image Comics. And such a beautiful conclusion and such a fantastic book. If you did not read this book, grab all of the issues. Don't even wait for a trade. Just read it right now. And it is all about a man who lives in a small town and has had all of the experiences that come with living in a small town, where you have, ride or die friends who are with you forever, but you also have everybody up in your business and people judging you and not thinking that you're doing things right, and not understanding why you're doing the things that you're doing. But this is also the story of a zombie apocalypse, and basically an apocalypse has happened, and this man is the only one left in his town, and he's still kind of trying to live those moments that he had, and he's finally, like, got it under control, and now some scavengers have come and they are attacking his town, and he is forced to deal with this life that he's created being once again completely and totally destroyed. And he's trying so hard to just hold on to anything and everything that he can. And the way that Tate Brombal bounces back and forth between the original life and the zombie life is so well done. And the emotion and heart that he's put into it is so good. I don't want to show you the back half of the book because, of course, it is the end. But it is such an emotionally charged zombie story, and a different way of looking at that, because we do always kind of, the whole point in zombie stories is, like, you have to put emotions aside. You have to kind of focus on the fact that, like, this is a killer that cannot recognize you. And Tate is like, but what if you could still recognize them? And what if maybe you could make them recognize you? And then what happens when that crumbles apart? It's such a good book. And I hope that we're talking about it during Eisner season this year. I'm going to be talking about it during Eisner season this year, but I'm not an Eisner judge, so I hope Eisner judges are talking about it during the Eisners this year. All right, we're going to run through everything else that came out this week. We've got Street Fighter Masters, This Is Guile's story. We've got Power Rangers Ninja Turtles Volume 3, Issue 4. Black Panther Intergalactic Issue 2. X-Men of Apocalypse Issue 2. X-Men itself at Issue 24. Psylocke Ninja Issue 1 with that Scotty Young cover. Wonder Woman Hit Issue 29. And I love how strong Nakayama made her look in this cover. It's so cool. Ultimate Black Panther Issue 24. The Mortal Thor Issue 6. Rat City Issue 21 from your Spawn universe. Spider-Man Wolverine Issue 9. We've got Spider-Man 94 Issue 5, which I believe wraps that up. Amazing Spider-Man Issue 20. Rogue Sun Issue 32. Nightwing Issue 134. Hulk Smashes Everything in Issue 2. Fantastic Four Issue 7. We've got GCKO had a new battle this week with the Green Lantern Galactic Slam. We've got Daredevil Punisher Issue 3, Catwoman Issue 83, And then we've got some Absolute Batman reprints with a 10th printing of Absolute Batman #1 and a reprinting of the Absolute Batman Annual 1. And then we also had Batman Superman World's Finest Hit issue 47, which is crazy. We also have a bunch of new graphic novels and trade paperbacks that came out this week. To that last Plague House, which I absolutely loved this past year, got its trade paperback. This is all 4 issues, and just some really crazy awesome art for Dave Chisholm as we get to see a bunch of podcasters make terrible choices. We get Vanishing Point Volume 1. This is I guess the whole thing. This is all 6 issues of Mark Russell's Vanishing Point anthology, sci-fi anthology series. We've got The Unchosen. This is Volume 1, which collects issues 1 through 4 of that series. We've got Alpha Dogs. This is a special edition. This is from Source Point. Source Point is back. It's launching with trade paperbacks and graphic novels first, and this is a story about Buck the dog, who has the ability to heal from any wound, and is pursued by those wishing to possess his powers, and him trying to get away from that. New History of the DC Universe is out in hardcover this week. So if you missed that New History of the DC Universe, you can grab that. Vision and the Scarlet Witch is out in trade paperback as well. This is issues 1 through 5. And then, of course, we went into Scarlet Witch being a part of the Sorcerer Supreme story and things of that nature. We'll hold that one for a second, too. We've got Elvira in Horrorland. This is issue 1 through 5 of that complete series, as well as the cover gallery. So if you want to see all the cool issues, this is Elvira having a blast, doing some things. I love that Nightmare on Elm Street homage cover. We've got Resurrection Man Quantum Karma. This is that entire series, which sold out so fast. So if you probably didn't get to read it, you can definitely track it down in trade paperback now. And then I'm going to show this one and I'll show that one last. We've got Marvel Super Graphic, which is a visual guide to the Marvel Universe. I'm kind of obsessed with this because this is all infographics explaining the Marvel Universe to you. Like, that's literally all it is infographics. And I think it's the coolest thing ever, and I'm kind of obsessed with it now for sure. You're shaking your head. Were you, did you check this out this week? Oh, you got some. Yeah, cool. Awesome. And then we've got Halloween Man. This is so cool for me. Halloween Man is a story that's been going on. It just celebrated its 20th anniversary. And that was this past year at San Diego Comic-Con. And our friend Drew Edwards writes this story and has been for 20 years. And this is the first time that Halloween Man has been collected into a trade paperback that you can actually go to a comic book store and request it from them for this publisher. So Red 5 just picked it up. We're very excited about it. It's an absolute blast. Halloween Man and his partner Lucy, who is the coolest rockabilly queen that you'll ever see, an awesome scientist and a great businesswoman. This is some of the earliest works of the series. Bring it all in. Nicholas Scott is on art on a lot of this. There's a hack/crash crossover. David Baldion from who does a lot of Marvel work is on this as well. And so there is a huge amount of fun that you can get into if you have not ever read Halloween Man. Highly recommend. Drew makes a really cool story. And I hope that we get to see more of the Halloween Man series collected, because 20 years of fun. It's great. All right. That's the books we got in stock for you this week and all the great indie small press titles we had. We hope that you'll go out to your local comic shop and add all of them to your pull list, or at least the ones that really spoke to you. Check out something new this week at your local comic shop. Wednesday is New Comic Book Day. You definitely want to hit up the stores and find all the best new indie and small press releases you can find, so you can talk to us about why you loved each of them. We will be here Wednesday with here in the shop for Queer Book Club. It's going to be a lot of fun, and then the store will be open next weekend, but Matt and I will be gone. So again, no CGC and no cleaning and pressing and no comic buying collections. But again, if you're looking for something fun to do and you've got the time and the money, come join us on the Comic-Con The Cruise, because it's taken off from Tampa on Friday. We can't wait. We hope to see you all there. But if we don't, we'll see you soon right here to wind down your weekend. Happy reading, everyone.